on this, I'm now joined in the studio by Olivier Guillard, Asia Research Director at France's Institute of International and Strategic Relations. Hello, thank you very much indeed for coming in. First of all, if you could tell us a bit more about the RSS. I understand it helped propel Narendra Modi to power.
Absolutely. Let's say that this is a kind of sister ship from the current political party that is in power for the last 3 years in India. It's a kind of movement that is between culture, sports, ideology. It's something that is supposed to be closer to the rightist side of the political spectrum in India than to the left, obviously. And this is a kind of pretty large organization. It's not supposed to be, it's a place for each and every Indian, but still the mainly pillars of this organization is mainly based on Hinduism and Hindu philosophy. And this is not a secret organization. It's a pretty large. You can, when you are lucky enough to visit regularly this country, you find pretty large places where you see guys training, young guys training.
Any idea of the numbers?
They are by millions, yeah, they definitely. But once again, it's not a secret organization. It's pretty. Your colleague said it properly a few minutes ago that this is an organization that's probably 70 or 80 years old, and there has been a large numbers of even political leaders, regional or national, that joined this organization many years or decades ago. So, and once again, it's not seen like a political party as such. But this is a kind of internship preparing guys to join the right side of the political spectrum or the Hindu society in an Indian nation.
So how many members of the current government do you think are there who were once members of the RSS, and how crucial a role does it play in the government now?
This is quite an interesting issue. I don't have exactly the numbers in mind, but I would say that probably over 1 people out of 2 in this government on the national basis. Well, regionally, once again, we need to remember that India is a federation, federalist countries. Each and every of the 30 states has quite a different type of local government with different kind of competencies. But at the national level, in the current government, that is an Hindu nationalist government, it's not. As such, this is not a crime to have such an agenda. I mean, so they came to power peacefully. Then Narendra Modi 3 years ago won the general elections very easily, with such a numbers that we had not seen such a success for at least 30 years in the country. So there has not been any crime, derived by the vote in what India is called the largest democracy in the world. It's not for nothing. At the moment, let's say that around Narendra Modi, which remains extremely popular 3 years after arriving to power, he has a lot of people around him that do belong from a close side or from a longer side to this Hinduism movement.
Because you say, yes, democratically elected, but you mentioned crime, and there has been a rise recently in religiously motivated violence. Is that not in part because of the intolerance towards minorities that the BJP is displaying and really not hiding in any way?
That could partly explain the situation. After that, you just need to look 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I was a student in this country 30 years ago. They were already in ethnico-religious confrontation and violence between Hindu and Muslim, between Hindu and Christian, between Christian and others. So it's part of the story of this 1.3 billion population. And to be really frank, there has not been the numbers that have not been multiplied by 2, 3, or 6. No, there is a sort of slight trend to see more ethno-religious violence. It's not about crime, it's about confrontations. But once again, it's part of the story of the modern India.
What about dissent, though, cracking down on dissent? Recently, there was a high-profile journalist who was killed, and she was a critic of Hindu nationalism. Is that not something that is peculiar to recent times and the atmosphere at the moment in India?
I don't believe so. I mean, if this is based only on one fact, it's not enough. It's not a scientific perspective. Just think about something. Mahatma Gandhi, the philosopher behind the modern vision of India, was killed by an Hindu fundamentalist. So it was 70 years ago. So I have not seen in this country that has probably one of the largest and freest a press situation in the world, I have not seen such a huge tsunami or surge of such crime. It's a sad story, but still, we cannot say that the situation today is so complicated in India for the journalists. It's not the case. It's probably one of the freest press in the whole Asian region.
So the wider population still very much supports Narendra Modi?
Definitely, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. We'll have to leave it there, Olivier Guillard. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. I'll be back at the top.